Like I talk about it with my sister growing up. There's a boy that she really liked, and I'll never forget. I said, I don't like the way he works out. He's not going to treat you well. I've never seen him date somebody, but there's just something inside of me that was like, I can tell the way that he pushes when he's uncomfortable, that he's not going to be there for you, and the way that he's around us, like. He just is a me guy. Like, he does his own thing when he wants to do his own thing. He's not going to be there for you. She chose to do otherwise. I'm not her dad. Like, I can't control. Not that our dad would even control her anyways. But 3 weeks later, she's like, yeah, he's a piece of crap.
Hey friends, welcome to Rugged. Young adulting is tough, and I'm here to show you how to make it easy. You'll learn mindset strategies to harness your thoughts and emotions in ways that help you achieve your goals. I'm your host, Trey Tucker, so let's dive right in. Hey, I am fired up that you're here. Today you're going to learn about how to transform your body, gain some muscle mass, also how to find your purpose and your passions, and then also how do you make it through tough seasons and become even stronger on the other side of them. I'm talking with my buddy Will Alderman. He's a sports performance coach, played college football, was a linebacker, and just has a larger than life personality. He's so much fun to listen to. We're going to dive right in where he's telling us about how watching anime cartoons as a kid actually turned him into this hulk of a man who can push through all sorts of pain. Here we go. Yeah, I like the Carson Newman thing.
That's cool. It just felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good. Now I still kept the just in case I got to show that off.
That's right.
You know.
What is that anyway?
So talk about Dragon Ball Z, what we were talking about out there, like anime, like that's literally, it is probably one of the key reasons I work out the way I work out, and
Really?
why I fell in love with like fitness, because of that show, Dragon Ball Z.
Tell me more about that.
So like Dragon Ball Z is, it's literally anime. Anime is like Japanese cartoons, basically, like their version of cartoons, but they're kind of a little bit deeper of like stories. They kind of like actually hit on like real life stuff. It's not just like, oh, Mickey Mouse running across the room and now a dog's chasing. Like, and so in Dragon Ball Z, there's like stories of like Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta is the one that's on my shirt. But it kind of hits on these ideas of saviors of the universe, and they're actually aliens. They don't belong on Earth, but to cut out all like the extra fluff, they end up being on Earth. The Goku and Vegeta's like the bad guy that turns good. Right. Goku is like the pure at heart, like tries to save the bad guys and bring them to the good side. It's funny, these colors are actually the same colors Goku wears. But the reason why I say it is the reason why I kind of work out the way I work out, because those guys are literally doing like 1,000 push-ups, like 1,001 under 1,000 pounds of gravity. And so you see these guys like doing this crazy stuff. So I literally like woke up, or my brother would wake up to me doing like push-ups and sit-ups at night, or he would be on the phone with his girlfriend. I'm just in the room like sweating. Like at some points I'm making as much noise as I can just so so his girlfriend's like, oh, what's he doing? Like, so I'm like, yeah, everybody's gonna know. I'm sitting at bus stops doing push-ups. So everything in my brain was like programmed with this unrealistic like idea of fitness. Like, oh, I can be this. Like, if I just work hard enough, I can literally do like the One Punch Man, like, which you don't know any of this, but those that might understand would know. Like, so One Punch Man does like a certain amount of push-ups in his training, and then he loses all his hair because he finally hits like peak fitness, but it's all with like basic training. And so it's like inside of like the anime world, it's just this idea, and there's certain genres, like there's a lot of different genres, a lot of stuff that's kind of questionable inside of anime, because it's kind of a catch-all phrase. Yeah. But I say like the One Punch Man or the Vegeta is just these characters inside of this version. I can't remember. Gosh, I'll get made fun of like if I was talking to my brother right now. But like there's a side of anime that's talking about like this idea of like progressing, and this like we're not just Superman characters that we're born with it. Like we have an inclination to be able to tap into something, but we have to work for it. And so like the Gokus and the Vegetas of the world, like of that fantasy world, are literally training in and out, day in and day out, trying to pursue this idea of strength so that they can protect their own, or in the earlier versions of Vegeta, like trying to conquer worlds that weren't his to conquer. But then he turned good, and now he's fighting to protect the world from Frieza, Cell, all these like crazy villains.
Whoa. Oh, there's so many places we could go with
this. Oh, so much. If you thought I nerded out, I didn't. That was a very watered down version. But yeah, you can live there for a long time for sure.
Well, I mean, immediately, the obvious part is the strength part of
Yeah.
pushing through the pain of that.
Yes.
So like,
Yeah.
but in a minute, there's a lot about purpose in there because they're
Oh,
training
for sure.
to protect people.
For sure.
So, but you were how old when you started to like watch that show and then push yourself through your own pain?
Dude, I would say, I guess my brother's 5 years older than me. You start high school when you're what, 13? Is that right?
I think
Around
13, 14. Maybe. Yeah.
So I would probably be about 9 is when I started like training, if you will. Like, and now this is like baseball classic training. So lots of running with a little bit of weights, but a ton of running. And that was also around the time where I was trying to play football. Like I wasn't really big on like early football. It was always baseball, and that's just skill work. Like lots of T-work with my brother growing up, always trying to like, man, I'm gonna be better than him one day. Like, or hey, we're gonna make it to the big leagues one day and do the King Griffey Jr. and his dad. Like, nah, we gonna be in this thing together, like living. And so that was always the goal. And then when football started and being a little bit more around like more development, and then my brother got into high school and started training, he kind of like pulled me along and was like, hey man, like, let's go train. Like, let's go live life. Like, and then so his coach actually allowed me to be in the weight room. I didn't really do much, but I was watching, and then I would kind of replicate it. So after he was done working out, like I shared the idea of me doing my push-ups. Yep. He had already done his work on the day, and so I'm just getting my extras. So it was like 5 sets of max out. So like it could have been anywhere from 5 to actually like 15 push-ups, and then I'm doing like pull-ups on the bunk bed with my legs like across his lap, and he's just like looking at me like, whatever, bro. So that's probably around the time that it actually like really kind of took off for me in regards to like fitness and trying to get stronger and things of the sort. But it was all running miles and just doing things that hurt, because that's what it looked like in the shows. Just guys were doing like god awful amounts of things, whether it be push-ups, sit-ups, crunches, running miles, not knowing like for my sport, I wasn't working out in a very smart manner, but it was what I was kind of wanting to do. It just felt good to not feel good. And so it just kind of like created like a mental callus for myself along the way. So probably around like 9, long story.
No, a mental callus. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you brought this up, because I don't think I've ever met somebody who had an origin story into fitness that came from anything like a cartoon or something, some fictional world like that.
There's stories inside of these stories that like in Naruto, there's a guy called Rock Lee. Like he literally has none of the superpowers that anybody else has. He literally just, in the layman's terms, just brute force and just physical basic strength. And he trains so hard to the point that he's able to keep up with these people that he should have no business keeping up with. And then he taps into these like levels of like, they call it like the lotus, like there's certain like flower, again, not getting into like the nuts and bolts of it, but just the depth in which he's able to tap into what some people would call the pain cave, if you will. Like just the speed that he's able to tap into, the stuff that he's putting himself through day in and day out. Like to me, that's just motivation, like in the cheesiest form. But it's just like reading any type of fiction or hearing any like crazy celebrity story. It's just a story to remind yourself that like, yeah, I need to know my why. And when I figure out the why behind why I want to do it, like for Goku, sometimes it is unpure and it's just, I want to be the strongest. But sometimes it's, I want to protect my wife. Like Bulma, like I got to make sure she's straight. Like, or like they're trying, like, so it has all these like ups and downs. And so for me, when I just pull on that, especially as a kid, like it was a huge staple for sure.
Yeah. So then what happened? You get inspired by it. You start pushing your own limits at 13, 14.
Yeah.
Get some idea of the why behind what you're doing, although I'm sure not a great depth, but like then what?
I mean, gosh, I think at the end of the day, it was really just trying to be the best that I could be where I was at. Like I never really saw a big picture. Like I wish I was a little bit more guided in regards to somebody saying like, hey, look at this fitness industry and like actually see how good you want to be in this football position. Like when I was a linebacker, like look at those linebackers that are doing it and see what skill sets they had. As I said, like for me, it was how can I be the best that I can be? And then I unknowingly painted a very bad picture of aerobic fitness and thinking that I needed to be the most aerobic fit person. So I'm running like 3 to 5 miles a day while doing max out reps of push-ups and sit-ups. And then I remember a very clear day, even my junior year of high school, like I still hadn't got it, but it was during track season and we're doing like drop sets of like 10, and you were only allowed to take off 5 pounds every time you did it, or 10 pounds. And it was like 10, 10, 10, 5 or something like that. It wasn't a rep scheme that really made sense, but it was just like, this is what we're going to do. And if you didn't make it, you had to reset. But my stubbornness, I probably did 100 reps of God knows what, because every time I had to reset because I would get to that last set, I couldn't finish. And then it would be like, well, now you got to start over. And my coach allowed me to do it, which to me is like kind of like mind numbing. Like, what was he doing? Like, just rip the weight off my bar. Like, don't let me be an idiot. Like, but again, there's a part of me that also was developed that I'm not mad at either. Being allowed to do those stupid things, like it wasn't smart fitness. But what it did do for me in my fitness journey of like trying to develop myself was, man, when things get uncomfortable, like I know I'm not going to die. And I know that sometimes comes to like an extreme in some cases, but like when I bring it back to that extreme, everything else falls short. And so it kind of gets me back on track. So that's where like, I don't really have like this like very clear path in regards to where I was trying to go at that point.
Right.
But what it did for me was just like being comfortable, being uncomfortable along the way, which now that I have some smarts behind my training, I could kind of like know the meathead side of it, but also the science or smart approach and learning how to blend the two.
Would that be the biggest misconception about the strength training world, is you got to just get strong and don't worry about anything else? Or what would you say one of the bigger ones are?
Yeah, I think it all falls in like, it's always funny just thinking about like conversations and vocabulary, because I think it kind of gets in this weird area of vocabulary. Like, well, what are you, a strength coach, sports performance coach? And then you get these people that try to like reinvent the wheel, like, oh, well, this is the front squat, but like we're gonna do it this way and kind of slightly change it, and then we're gonna change up the whole vocabulary. And it's like there's so many things that's just so inconsistent inside of just the world of squatting. Like, well, where should you squat to? Well, research supports this. Well, back in the day, they used to say you shouldn't do this. Talking about full depth versus partial, or just get to 90. Where if you look at research now, it literally is very clear the high levels of stress at 90 degrees is way less on the knee if you go past 90 degrees. But if you say that, or something as simple as like icing has been proven at this point to delay hypertrophy and muscle gain and strength, but yet that we still have kids cold plunging after a hard workout over the summer every day thinking that that's going to optimize recovery. Now, do I have the exact numbers and all of that? Like, no, I've read the papers. I don't always keep all the numbers on the back of my mind. I just try to keep big picture information. So, but when you have that conversation with somebody that is the old school, no, we just get after it, then we cool the body down. Or whatever the train of thought is, it's just trying to break down these norms of what research is saying. And that's where I think the sports performance world name is getting out there. But again, you get into the sports performance world and then you start tapping into laboratory type thought, as you said, the more safe thought, or well, we got to do this, and get super conservative, where it gets so conservative to the point where we're not even developing the athlete anymore. Oh, well, this guy, or you get super sports specific, when in reality, making the literal weight room, which is there to help, if I'm keeping it very simple, it is there to help produce force. The rate of force gets improved to some degree based on the lift that you are doing, but the weight room is way too slow to really effectively change that, which is why we will always sprint. In any program that I'm ever a part of, always have some form of sprint training and jump training, because those are the only things that really directly correlate to your on-the-field sports performance. Even as we talk about it, even as a wrestler, I mean, the wrestlers always are like, well, why do we get sprint training the same way that our football players do? Like, we're not a field sport, but it's not about just the actual technique. The technique allows for proper transfer of the force to be a little bit faster, but and I'm going into the weeds. I
Do
hope
it,
that's
do
okay.
it. Yeah.
But like looking at that rate actually transforms, like it actually taps into the muscle fiber and teaches it to train and be faster.
The sprinting does.
The sprinting does.
Okay.
And so if you don't have the sprinting a part of the weight room, then you're just creating muscle strong people. Even if you're teaching the snatch, which is probably the fastest weightlifting, heaviest load thing that you can move really, really fast. Even the clean, it's faster than the clean because of where you're trying to get it. But generally speaking, you're also loading it different.
Let's say that we're taking somebody whose hypertrophy is their goal.
Okay.
What are the basics they need to know?
I think like understanding like, and so when we say hypertrophy, we're talking about like muscle growth, trying to get bigger muscles.
Right.
And so if we're looking at that, I think just looking at volume, there's certain numbers. I always keep notes on it because I never commit it to memory. But if we're looking at basics rep schemes, that would live in the area of like the 3x10s, right? But you're still hitting about, I think it's like 9 sets of total 10 on that muscle group. And that's like in the session. And then you might have like, or is that like weekly? I always get like numbers confused when I'm not looking at them on paper, right?
They're too many.
That's dude, because I'm always thinking about like movement and like sprints and like, oh, what's a good 40 time? What's a good short shuttle?
Yeah.
So like when I think about hypertrophy, I just know like, oh, this is the block, this is what we're doing. But it still falls under about 9 to like 12 sets with about 10 reps. Hypertrophy actually goes a little bit lower than that if you're actually looking at the scale. But I think the general frame of reference for that everyday person like we're talking about goes back to that 10 to 15. But I think you also have to look at the intensity because you can say the rep scheme all day. But if you're not looking at the intensity level of it, I think somebody can put 100 pounds on the bar but be a 500-pound guy. They will not get the results that they're looking for being that low on the scale. You still need to be within that, like, giving the everyday person way of looking at it because not a lot of people will have a 1 rep max. I would say, like, make sure by the end of those sets or at the end of those working sets, again, those are also working sets. It's not considering a warm up or anything that you've done up to that point as well. So that's another caveat that has to be put in when I say those rep schemes.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at all of that volume, it needs to be within that, like, I got 2 left in the tank. When I'm done, hold it, maybe I could have got 2. And then on that last set, maybe it, like a guy like in your case where you're a little bit more than just that average Joe guy, it's like we might need to tap into like failure uncomfort, like where it's like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get this last rep, which is also hard. Like even in the program where I'm like, I would like coach you, like, so I could be there, like spot you when you need to work and really pull a little bit more out of that muscle. And which also actually, I was thinking about this, like, which is also the hard thing about like any type of training is the misconception inside of like training is always thinking like bench is going to get me a bigger chest. Squats are going to give me bigger legs. I think if you don't know how to do the movements, you can also train the wrong things. So like, I think about like when can I use you as an example?
Oh,
is that
absolutely,
all right?
yeah.
All right. So like I was thinking about like one day when I was walking by you in the weight room and I was, you were doing the program and me giving you the program, knowing that I see you in the weight room all the time, I didn't even think about your RDL form. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, this guy's like, dude, I can write this in. These are like basic movements and I know he can do them. I tried not to give you like a bunch of like weird, like one-off movements. It was pretty vanilla when it came down to it, right?
Yeah, and I felt good about the RDLs because I had done them for so long, so I assumed I was doing them right.
Yes, and do you remember what I said to you?
I think. Tell me again.
No, you got to tell me. What do you remember me saying?
There was something about how rounded my back was.
Yes,
I remember that. But.
yes. I remember looking and I was like, oh. I was like, Trey, like, hold on, put the weight down. Like, please put the weight down, like right now. And that was your hamstring day, right? Like we're trying to like build your legs up. We've separated all these muscles, like, cause I'm thinking like, yo, like he's been doing these things. Like, okay, we gotta like, so I kind of jumped to some conclusions without doing my proper screening that I should have done as like a health professional. Like, let's look at some of these movements. But I remember like looking at the years of training that you probably have done inside of that movement. Yeah. And then I told you to stand up And then I had you bend over again, and I'll never forget looking at the development of your lower back.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The development of your lower back. And then I'll look at your hamstrings, and I'm looking at you do the movement, and I'm like, you are not using any of your hamstring to like stand up, which also goes back to the misnomer of like spinal flexion is like the worst thing in the world. It's not. It's just knowing how to do it and properly progressing it, but nobody trains it, so everybody's afraid of it. But what you can do is look at the guys that have a physique that you might like. Look at the way that they're doing the movements, like a Kai Green, big bodybuilder, huge on muscle-mind connection, especially in this hypertrophy world. We'll go to like a bodybuilder type of mindset. If I am using the wrong muscles but doing the right movement, I'm not going to see the results. And I get to the end of that 3-month like cycle, and I'm just like, I got nothing out of it. I'm measuring and I'm getting nothing out of it. And it's one of the things that I'm struggling when I'm even trying to rewrite your program. Every time I sit down, I'm like, well, I'm looking at it, but this still makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so like, why isn't he getting the results that like this lines up with all of my notes, right? Like all the stuff that I don't commit to memory, like this lines up with it though. Like I don't live in this bodybuilder world, but when I look at the literature, this is what makes sense. And that's another thing, like, knowing that there's always art inside of the literature as well. Like everybody's not the same. These are big picture things that are overarching, and all we're doing is taking the top of the bell curve and saying that this is what was shown to be most effective for most people. Okay. And so even looking at literature, we have to be careful on how we interpret it and who wrote it, because they're going to have their own lean on it as well. Like just like in anything. So but I'll always encourage somebody, trust the nuts and bolts, learn the basic movements, and stay in that 3 by 10, getting about 9 sets of all the major working movements within the hypertrophy realm, and then have some type of progression where you have your 4-week block, let's say, and if you're pretty novice or pretty regular, you will see increases in your weight, about 5 to 10 pounds, roughly in your lower body, especially like a 10 pound, like, cause legs usually get stronger a little bit quicker, about that 5 pounds with the upper body. So it kind of, again, it falls in those like categories where it's pretty vanilla, easy to put it out there, but it's not always exactly that simple and practical application because of the things that I just talked about, like doing a movement, but doing it wrong.
Yeah, and like in that case, I had done the movement wrong and not known it because I wasn't getting injured.
Yes.
And nobody else had really said anything to me. Other people had watched me do RDLs and nobody spoke up.
Yes.
But when you caught it, it made the concept of mind-muscle connection click.
Yes.
Because you had tried to explain to me this concept of mind-muscle connection. I was like, well, yeah, like if I'm curling, I'm using my biceps. If I'm benching, I'm using my chest. Of course,
because that's the movement. Right. And that's what the literature says. If I'm curling, I'm using my bicep. Not knowing you can use the delt without using the bicep to get it there.
Right.
For sure.
And so then it finally made sense. I was like, I'm doing this movement, but the muscle I'm targeting isn't actually activating.
Exactly.
I mean, that to me is kind of a life application. You could be doing something in life totally wrong, but it still works. So we need somebody else to look at us.
Yes.
Kind of hold the mirror up to us, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So that brings me back to your story in high school, because you said you started out with baseball.
Yep.
But I know, just knowing you ended up in football. Did somebody come along and basically tell you as a coach, like, hey, you've got a future in football more than baseball? Like what happened with that switch?
Oh gosh. So fitness started in like the middle school when I was following the shadow of my brother. Okay. And then I finally got to high school, and the coach that was there, that was really cool, like hard nosed, really training these guys. He hired like an outside trainer. I got there and I had a new guy, totally different culture. And I struggled with like spelling, like English was just not my forte. Like I could talk to you all day, but when it came down to pen to paper, like the ideas of what I was trying to convey were there. But later on figured out my senior year, I struggled with dyslexia. I could not put sentences together, but I can do math all day because it was very straightforward, easy to deal with. The numbers didn't jumble around, but when I looked at letters, there's something about the stress of that that just messed me up. And I would never forget, that was my senior year studying for the SAT, and the lady had me reading out loud, and I was like, oh crap. But then she was like, but how are you grading so high on these things? It was funny. But beyond the point, I had a baseball coach that when I filled out my information sheet, he made fun of a lot of my spelling, especially in particular the way that I spelled my mom's name. Wow. And he said in front of the whole dugout, in front of everybody before class, we're all handing before practice, we're all handing in our information sheets. Like, this is my freshman year, like super young, super susceptible to like authority figure. Like, I'm always been like an honorable like kid. Like, I never was like the let's like not listen to authority. So if like authority is saying it, I'm listening, right? Yeah. And so like when I felt like he literally was like, hey, Alderman, come here. And he has all like the coaches there. Everybody's kind of like hanging out. He's like, hey, how do you spell your mom's name?
Oh, no.
And I'm like, E-L-A. And he's like, you don't know how to spell your mom's name? I'm like, it's Elaine. I can tell you what it is. Like, I'm not an idiot. Right. Like, I'm sorry I suck at spelling. Like,
right, what point?
And I guess I should know it, but I just never like. I just would struggle to like be able to spell. I still to this day am not the greatest at it, but that's where for me when that happened, that was also going into this my growth spurt. So I was a middle infielder, and I was probably my 8th grade year, probably about like. 5'9" or something like that. And then my freshman year, probably 6'1". So it was a pretty substantial growth spurt. And so I'm missing ground balls that I never did because I can't gauge the ground. And so I'm like feeling very awkward. Then he moved me out to outfield, and then he's like, you can't catch a ball, like get some swag. You guys are running around like this, and you guys don't even look comfortable out there. And so like, when I was facing that, and then I had a coach that was like, in football, man, you can go places in this sport. Like, man, we really see some potential here. When I had the contrast of the two, that's where for me it took the dream of baseball, and then also seeing my brother like throw his arm to like crap where he couldn't even make a throw from third to first. It kind of put these like two bitter rocks in my mouth. Come my senior year, I tried out for baseball again, and the guy was like, clearly you've played baseball before, but also clearly you haven't been playing in a while. And I have some younger guys that I want to develop, and I respect you as an athlete and everything you've done at this school, but because it was a new coach, it was a new school. But at that point, it was just like my freshman year, I was like, I want to pursue this football thing because it gives me a little bit more comfort personally. So that's the story there.
Yeah. And that, I mean, what a just huge juxtaposition between the baseball coach, the old coach, and the football coach.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
I mean, he came in and said, look, I believe in you. I see something in you.
Yeah.
And then what happened from there?
So then it's crazy because then after that, I going into my like sophomore year, was like, hey, so we're moving out to Brooksville, Florida. And if you know Brooksville, Florida, country little town up north. And I go from Countryside High School in Clearwater, Florida, like huge school, like bigger than like even Carson Newman almost in regards to numbers. Maybe not. But at the end of the day, it was a huge high school going then to a very small school. Yep. And so at that point, it was like, all right, let me just commit. Like, I'm here. Cried my tears. The coach was like, I'm sorry you're leaving us, because they had, like, as Countryside, they had some pull to kind of get you some places, if you will, as long as you put in the work. And so that's when I ended up in Hernando County and just kind of did the best I could with what I had, and did a whole lot of track, a whole lot of football, and tried to play basketball. Terrible. I wish I wrestled instead. That would have been way more fun.
That would have fit your mindset of pushing through the discomfort.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, I did that my senior year, and I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? Like, this is like home. Like, seeing everybody like just hurt, and I'm like,
I truly don't think I've ever seen somebody look like they enjoy pain as much as you look like you enjoy pain.
There's just something about it, man. Like, there's just something so like pure. Like, I'll never forget there's something pure about the weight room and just seeing somebody just tangibly be uncomfortable. The things you can learn about somebody in the weight room that are just so quick and to the point. Like I talk about it with my sister growing up. There's a boy that she really liked, and I'll never forget. I said, "I don't like the way he works out. He's not going to treat you well." I've never seen him date somebody, but there's just something inside of me that was like, I can tell the way that he pushes when he's uncomfortable, that he's not going to be there for you, and the way that he's around us, like. He just is a me guy. Like, he does his own thing when he wants to do his own thing. He's not going to be there for you. She chose to do otherwise. I'm not her dad. Like, I can't control. Not that our dad would even control her anyways. But 3 weeks later, she's like, "Yeah, he's a piece of crap." And I was like, "Yeah, like I told you, like you." But again, like why I love training young athletes in the weight room, because they're just such direct, coachable moments of like. My coach in college used to say it. He was like, if you cheat on this, you'll cheat on your taxes. If you cheat on your taxes, you'll cheat on your wife. Like, just that like trickle down effect, but the microcosm of the weight room and how quickly they have to deal with it, because you fail a rep on the squat and we said you have 5 reps and all your boys are saying, "Hey, you still got 5 reps and you have done 0. It's like, well, we got to figure this thing out. And you got to figure out really quick, or you're just going to leave the weight room and be sad on the day. And it sucks, but failure's failure. Like, but the cool thing is the grace that the weight room can also have is we got open hands. Like, you come right back. Like, we're not changing the standard for you, but if you want to get better, like, let's do that.
Yeah, I love that, because the pain tests us and it reveals what's inside, just like this water bottle. If we shake this bottle, whatever's in it is going to come out.
Yes.
So like that guy that was dating your sister, you saw really
shook.
quick microcosm. Got shook. And you saw early what was in him.
Yes.
But just because maybe somebody isn't ready yet or doesn't have what it takes in them yet doesn't mean they're not ever going to have
heck
it.
yeah.
So
and that's the tool, right? Like, knowing the tool, knowing the movement and what you're trying to develop. I think that's the thing. Like, we didn't even talk about it earlier, but like the stuff that science can't tell you, the stuff that science can't develop. It's like, even in my own business, like in Next Level Fitness, I remember I went to Hickson High School or Hickson Middle School, and I'm training their baseball team. And I was like, a few guys off the baseball team. And then like, I'll never forget, the dad came up to me and he was like, "Listen, like, I appreciate what you did for them athletically, but my son has never operated with this level of confidence. And I've never seen him actually want to develop as an athlete. And I've never seen him actually want to step into a weight room. But the confidence that he has now in himself and his own development and the vigor he has, he's never had until he worked with you." And like, when you hear stories like that, I remember looking at him, I was like, man, like, I totally appreciate you saying that, because that's the stuff that doesn't sell. Like, that's the stuff that's hard to put on a postcard. Like, people want to see the numbers. They want to see what guys you're signing. But when you say like, "Hey, we're here to build confidence in your boy," then you sound like just the good old Christian boy that's just like, "Yeah, like, we want to FCA your boy." Not saying that there's anything wrong with FCA. I did FCA. Like, I'm not knocking it. But like, there's certain programs that we all know that we've been a part of that don't drive the quality of training along with the good message of like, hey, God's put us here for a reason. Like, you need to be walking out in excellence, and not just like saying we're being excellent, but actually saying like, no, like, I need to discipline my body like the Bible talks about. Like, I am not beating on air. Like, I'm here so when I get to the end of this race, like, in this end of this finish line, like, I don't get disqualified because of my own bad behavior. Like, not saying that any of us are going to get it perfect. David definitely didn't get it perfect. But at the end of the day, like, we're here to chase after the source, not our own power. But like, when we operate in our own power, that's where the failure comes. And that's where I love like training teams over just the individual. I would love to train an individual all day, but like, there's something pure about seeing a football player work with a football player, or a baseball player work with a baseball player, or even the cross curricular of a guy that just says, this is the standard of the weight room. All of us have to meet it. And then when they fail and don't meet it, and just the clashing and the conflict that can occur, but then like, when that person gets broken down to that like raw place that like, I am literally sitting in here crying and I don't want anybody else to see my tears. And you see the kid just like holding it in. And then you have a conversation with them later and they're like, yeah. And then they start bawling. Yeah. But then you rewind back to that moment, and beyond the tears, like, inside of that person is developing a callus of like, but I can do this.
I can do this.
Just because it's hard right now doesn't mean I can't. Like, just because this seems insurmountable doesn't mean I can't. And then when you lean into that, when you really tap into that, it's like, that's the dad I want to work around. Like, that's the dad I want raising my kids. Like, or that's the mom I want around this. It's like, those are the generational people that we need to be around. And I think, like, we get this idea of, like, that old school mentality, like it's all bad. But it's like, no, there's some good there. That, like, walk it off mentality is good. Like, that, like, stay in it when it's hard, like, that's good. Just don't be the douchebag, if I can say that.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be the guy that's just like, you got to suck it up, and not be willing to have a follow-up conversation that's actually with a listening ear, that's willing to say, like, where are you at right now? And I think even for that everyday person, like, for me, like, I don't have a lot of those people in my life to check me, but I have my wife. And I think sometimes as a man, it's very easy to have, like, a puffed up chest and be like, baby girl, I'm the leader and you need to follow. Even especially in the Christian Judeo like world, is like, no, I'm the head of the household. You need to listen to me. When in reality, leadership is like submitting and falling on your face and letting somebody walk over you, and not in this like, oh, like, just walk over me.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully I'm not a pushover, but I'm the first one to be of sacrificial, like a lamb, to make sure my family's okay. And so when you're able to walk in that and then be checked as well, and like, because my wife is the only person that had ever looked at me and was like, hey, you missed a rep. Like, when I worked out with her in college and she said that, some things stood up. And I was like,
All right, then.
all right. So she might be the one for me, but I got some other things to work through. And so, like, I think like knowing who you can have there to be able to check you, because I keep on talking about the team sports aspect,
Right.
But I think, just to your point, like, this is the everyday person. A lot of what's listening to, like, what's going on here, like. And so it's understanding, whether it be your brother or that one weightlifting guy that's just willing to, like, stand in the gap for you, or your wife, like, and being willing to listen to that person and say, like, and equip them with the knowledge that you have. Like, they might not have it, but I can tell you, like, when I'm shooting my bow, hey, look at my front hand. If you see me grabbing the front of my bow, tell me. Like, that's not a good habit that I don't want. I don't want that habit. If you see me, like, shaking back here, or if you see me crunching down into my bow, like, and I'm not staying up tall, like, tell me. Just like if you're doing an RDL, like, I can act all day. Like, I always have great muscle-mind connection. But when you get into those last 2 reps, God knows I'm just trying to move the weight.
Yeah.
But then when Jenna looks at me, my wife, and she says, you didn't go low enough, and I got to get back under that weight and move it again, just God know that I'm going to return the favor, because it's a favor. And I think sometimes that accountability and that, like, standing in the gap can sometimes, especially if it comes from the wrong source, be looked at like, bro, get out of here.
Yeah. They haven't earned the right to be that accountability for you, to tell you those hard things.
Yes.
But I think it takes some confidence to be able to give somebody else permission to correct you.
Oh, for sure.
Whether it's something simple like your grip on your bow, or in the weight room, whatever. Like,
that's a very good point.
You have to know who you are and why you're doing things, like you said, in order to receive feedback. Because I can tell you, a lot of people of a lot of ages right now, they take feedback as an attack, no 100%. Matter who it's from. Yeah. So how did you develop that enough in yourself? Obviously, pushing through discomfort physically, but any other ways you got to that point where you welcome the feedback?
I mean, I guess it just comes down to, like, failing enough and just getting sick and tired of not getting it right. Like, I think it just gets to a point where, like, you want to do it right, and you also know that you just aren't enough. Like, I'm not enough. Like, and I think that that's the broken part, that, like, even in my own faith. And so I think, like, a lot of that comes back to, like my literal, like, my own faith walk, when I, like, get to the point of, like, I can't figure this out. When I realize, like, I'm doing all this studying by myself, theological, I'm doing all this reading, and then you just get broken down, and now you're like, I don't know the answers, and I don't even know if I believe in God anymore. Like, a crisis of a belief moment. I think when you really get to that in anything, it breaks you down to the point of, I would rather find the right answer rather than pretend to have the right answer. And I still don't have it all figured out. but I'd much rather go up to you and say, hey, I'm dealing with this emotionally. Like, I don't know what this is. And for you to come back and say, well, these are red moments, or these are legit traumas like that you're talking about here. It solidifies something inside of me like, okay, I'm not crazy. I am broken in some ways. Like, I got to figure out how to put this back together. And seeking that information, and you realize like, I just have to equip people to be around me and give them that confidence. And when I feel uncomfortable, then it's probably something about me and not the other person. And when I started grasping that idea, then it was like, I can be okay. Like, I can be okay. Like, just like I can be uncomfortable being uncomfortable in the weight room, I can be uncomfortable with the feedback. And then you get to that point where it's like, no, like, you actually long for it because you realize the growth that occurs, and you almost get addicted to like almost cheating life. Like, why wouldn't I ask more people how to do the thing that they're specializing in?
That part,
like, how much of an idiot would I be? And then like, if I don't have them around all the time, like, share the information so somebody else can point it right back at you. Like, let them be the mirror.
Yes.
And so that to me, I think was like the catalyst of it all, like how it kind of got to that point. I don't think it was like one moment. I think it's just like the faith piece, the working out, like, and then just getting sick and tired of like not getting the results I wanted. And I think the hard part, the real hard part of it is when you realize like so many people aren't willing to be there.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part. That's the thing that I'm working through now is like, well, I want more people to be my, how do people talk about mentors? It's like, man, I want a mentor.
Right.
And it's like, I've learned to still mentorship because like a lot of people don't want to just give it. And a lot of people don't want to even have you pay for it. Like they're just busy. And so when I'm sitting in the cafeteria with a baseball coach and I know I want to figure out what their conversation looks like to their hitters. So like when I'm coaching them up in the weight room and it's a rotational accessory, how can I maybe adapt that to be vocabulary that's consistent with what they're talking about, but so I can get the result that I want? Because when I'm looking at the sports and the rotation and how they're rotating, I want them to do that in the weight room, but my cue to the track throwers might look a little bit different. And so I'm just stealing the mentorship just along the meal. Oh, when I'm talking to you, I get to steal a bunch of information. That's why I don't mind answering any questions you got, because we're just trading information at that point, you know? Like,
yeah.
And so it's all currency, but like I think it's free knowledge, like it's free information. So like, shame on us to not share. Now, if it's like a sit down and we're actually trying to go somewhere, then it's like, okay, no, let me pay you for your time. Like, you're giving me something that like has value, and I want to represent, like I want to respect that value. But like, at the end of the day, get it where you can get it.
You're probably being the mentor that you may not have had yourself, or at least for areas of your life you might not have had. You're able to be that for people that wouldn't have it either. So I love seeing that happen. That's one of the reasons I love your energy. It's just it's contagious, and people can't help but follow it. Just like the dad that talked to you about, hey, I want, not only did you train my son physically, but he's interested in growing internally, becoming a man. So yeah, you're making a huge impact. So hey, thanks so much for being here today. Before you go, would you hit that subscribe button so that future episodes come right to you? Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.